afternoon, YouTube. Your man always George Page, aka the Emperor of Female Body Talk, coming to you live on YouTube. Guys, I know you just saw me about a good hour or so ago. Now I'm back because I have a special guest. She's a lovely lady, and we've been, companions and comrades in this sport of bodybuilding for quite some time. You might recognize her. She's been a guest quite too often. As you know, last year she made an announcement she was switching over to wellness. But she has some news also coming out. If you follow her, we have here my dear guest, my dear friend, the lovely Miss Jada Beverly here.
Hello.
Yeah, I know you guys are excited. She's lovely, she guys. So we have Jada back, and Jada just competed at a show was about a couple of weeks ago in Spain. What was that like? Going to Spain.
It was nice. It's dry over there, so I didn't have any allergy problems. I would say it's a little bit more deserty than I expected, because it's like in the middle of Madrid, so it's very deserty. The weather was about, I want to say average 52-ish. Um, the show itself is new. They haven't had it for a long time, like maybe a handful of years, maybe 3, 4. It's the second time they had run the wellness. It was freezing cold in the facilities. Spain has this thing where they like to save utility expense. So if they're not using something, it gets turned off. So they had us in a casino. It was called the Grand Casino. It was in Aranjuez. And when they had the show, the casino wasn't active. It was closed down until a later time period in the day. So it was cold as hell. Competitors and coldness,
Yeah,
it doesn't really work a lot, right?
yeah, because with the
Not for
cold,
me.
yeah, with the cold, because you don't you it causes your muscles to contract because
Yeah.
because you don't get that nice pop and that vascular look when you're shivering. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Not that you were supposed to have that for such division, but we'll get into that later. But yeah, the show just it was, I feel like they were more they really wanted to promote it on a social level. So I think because of that's where their head was at with it, that I don't think they understood that the competitors were suffering a little bit because of that. I don't want to talk about the show or anything about that. I can only tell you what I experienced. And I think that they literally forgot for a second there the comfort of the actual competitors. Um, but because of work, which is something that is on me, I didn't get out there as soon as I really should have. And then I had flight complications. I had a flight that got delayed, so it pushed me back even like it it set my time limit even more, at risk here. And that also puts you in a stress state. I don't think I'm going to fly British Airways anytime soon. You have to excuse me. The winter here has got my nose running. So I couldn't get there on time, and so I lost a little bit of time. Plus, you jump forward six hours. Um,
yeah.
so that's something you can't really control, right? Job, doesn't allow you a certain amount of days, and you're like trying to get overseas. If you have a show on a Sunday, my best suggestion, if you have to go overseas, don't get there any later than a Tuesday. The body just needs a certain amount of time to de-stress from that flight. And my body just didn't quite have enough time. But not only that, and I'm not trying to make excuses, I'm just telling you the reality of the situation at the show. The time frame, the coldness. My body is also not used to mineral water. That's all they had access to for me there. All the stores I went to, I could not find purified water. I started my water loading here at the home front on purified. That's what I've always used. I get out there and my water has to switch And I'm not sure what that did or didn't do for my physique, but it must not have done anything good, because the aftermath is I didn't quite look the way we were expecting me to look. But all that's beside the point, because when we get to the reasons as to why I even tried to make the switch to wellness, and we'll get into all that. But the main point of the story is I kind of learned that where wellness is today, it has nothing to do with what they say in the in the judging criteria. It's totally different. Where they are today is not what I was training to be and to look. They are far more harder than you can imagine, which wasn't really supposed to be a thing for this division, but that's just where it's at. So,
Well,
go ahead.
well, like the division, I think it's supposed to have been kind of like bikini, but with girls with bigger butts.
Yeah,
And
the
not
rule books state, I mean, if you've ever read the criteria, and silly me, I'm always focusing on what the criteria says because I'm feeling like that's how they're going to judge it. And the criteria, it states that you're not supposed to have extreme dryness. You're not supposed to be overly hard. No striation should be visible. You're not supposed to have a lot of separation. And you're supposed to not be overly hard, but not be overly soft. So, I mean, but let's be honest, that was my third wellness, and they're even harder than they were last year, this year. So
it's crazy.
they want hardness. I mean, the harder you are, the better you're going to do. So
that's, yeah. Because the thing is, now you're pushing for new division fit models coming up.
And they're all going to be hard. They're all going to end up being hard. Nobody's like, it's crazy. I also made one other mistake out there. I trained a little too hard my final training. I just, for some reason, thought, I don't know what I was thinking, but this was a mistake on me. I trained way too hard my last training session out there, and I ended up being so sore at the show, I couldn't even flex my glutes. So, but if you want to go back to the origin as to the reasoning as to why I tried to make that switch, because I know that's what everybody was trying to figure out. Well, why did she even make the switch? It's kind of like a 6-point answer. 3 are the very first and most important. I made the switch into that division because reason number 1, I was trying to deal with a health issue that physique was really kind of making it very hard for me to compete. Like I handled the one show in 2023 okay, and I did well, but I was supposed to go and do another show, and I couldn't do it due to some health issues that I was having after the show. So I was starting to think that like my body was, having trouble keeping up with the conditioning levels and all the stuff you need to do to train for physique. Also, I left the division due to a major injury that I'm just going to have to face the music and just deal with it and get it fixed. I mean, for work reasons, I need to get it fixed anyway. So why are we running from the problem? We can't run from this anymore. We just have to get it fixed. But I initially stepped away from physique because I'm like, with this injury being so severe, it's going to hinder the way I have to present myself for physique. It's going to hinder my training. It's going to hinder the way I need to pose, the way I need to perform. And so I'm like, okay, that's another reason. The other reason was work. I work a full-time job now. This is something I never did competing before, even as an amateur. And it takes a lot of my time and a lot of my energy. And I was thinking that if I did wellness and according to the judging criteria, this should take some of the training down for me, eliminating my whole upper body. So then I'm training just lower. That's about 3 training sessions a week and about 5 to 6 cardios. I'm doing the math here. I'm thinking it should be easier, right? And the other reasons were just the simple fact that there was more wellness shows. I mean, there's a lot more wellness shows than there is physique. They were given more money to the division as well, and the division was still being honored and supported by the Arnolds. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is the way to go, I guess. I never could understand why he got rid of figure or physique, but he did. So I'm using these as excuses as to, okay, let's jump ship and try this. But little did I know that I was a ball trying to fit into, or I was a circle trying to fit into a square. And you learn that when you're with these girls on stage and you're seeing the complete difference in your physique versus theirs. And you're putting two and two together and you're like, okay, genetically speaking, I'm not even in the shape structure to do this. My job requires me to use my upper body a lot. So there was no way it was ever going to get rested like it was supposed to come down. Because if I don't train it at all, it's supposed to come down. I haven't touched upper body in like 8 or 9 months. I haven't trained any upper body. But because of my job and because of past show muscle memory, all that jazz, this thing wakes up every time I go into prep, even if I don't train it. So that's a no-no for physique, or sorry, for wellness. You can't have a dominant upper body. You're not supposed to be balanced here to there. You're supposed to be dominant down here, have a little bit of tightness and some stuff, but nothing in compared to, what you're going to be physique. And my physique body, even untrained, still pops out every time I go into a prep. It's there. It's not going anywhere. That's just what's going on. Also, the girls in that division seem to have a very elongated glute tie-in, which you either genetically have that or you genetically don't have that. Okay. So I guess that's my point about, like, I'm trying to fit into a square and I'm a circle. So, the good news is we try, we see, we learn if something's going to work or not. And then you just make decisions after that. So me finally being of the age of 39, seeing that my upper body's not going to go anywhere, seeing that I still have to come in just as hard for physique as I would for wellness anyway, seeing that my body is more prone to go back to physique than to try to fit into wellness. If I want to keep my status going until I just really just got to throw in the towel and not compete anymore, I feel like I have no choice but to heal my injuries and to go back to the division that so far had treated me the best out of the 3 that I've done in the pro league. When I switched to bodybuilding, I switched over well, but I wasn't favored or liked in the community that controlled and ran it. I wasn't really welcomed by the wings of strength in bodybuilding. So that unfortunately can't work out. So I revert back to physique, and that's the cards that we have to play with here. It's either that or I guess it's nothing. I don't know. So
That's the thing. The thing is, we've been looking at how the divisions have evolved. Even women in the physique division should go up to women's bodybuilding. We're looking at figure
some
girls who
of
should
them,
go
yeah,
up.
some of them could
Yeah,
easily.
yeah. We're looking at figure girls who should do women's physique, and I'm seeing
Yeah,
again wellness girls who look like they should be doing physique or women's bodybuilding. We
it's
have your comment.
insane.
Yeah,
It's
we have a comment.
insane.
Shout out to here. Tony says, "Good evening, Jada. How are you? Wish you the best for your career. I'm sure you'll do great in wellness." Well, she's not doing wellness anymore, bro. She's moving back up to WPD. I mean,
Or you could just say back over.
back over. Yeah, it's just going up, up,
Whichever,
over.
right?
Yeah. We have here another comment. Shout out to my man Jeremy. The Art of Female Muscle says, some of these wellness girls are walking around looking like centaurs.
Yeah, pretty much. It's got a
I mean,
point.
yeah, because there's one girl I think I actually met one of her clients. Her name is Tiff Sam. And this is a picture here, Tiff and another competitor. If you look at these girls, you know, if she had a little more size in the upper body, she could be women's bodybuilder. I mean, the other girl,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's crazy, and especially you talk about tie-ins. You want that good connection. Even they tell it, even women bodybuilding physique competitors, you want a good tie-in. But I think it's more
But they don't
dominant.
have to come down that low. They don't have to do that.
Yeah.
It's easier for you to do physique with you just kind of got to go with the flow of how your body's just going to balance out everything. And so I could still pull off a halfway decent look in physique and not have tie-ins that go down to the middle of my hamstrings. So, but the thing is, the early girls in wellness, like when it first came here, when it first like broke out, those girls didn't have tie-ins that came down that long. That is something that this division has been developing, and the judges are rewarding that. So like everybody is trying to get, like, if you have them, more power to you because you've got an advantage. So,
Mm.
but that seems to be what they're going for in the look. Um, I don't know. It's the criteria is one thing, but what they're going for on stage is a whole nother look. So it's, you know,
The thing is, I think they're not sticking with that's the same thing with women's physique because it supposed to be certain criteria. I remember as you told me that when you and Jada competed at the Shreveport, that's about a good 4 or 5 years ago, and they told y'all to you need to go up. And then I think with Mela, she hit it off, but now I think Mela's kind of, I don't know, she's having issues now. And you start off pretty good for a good bit, but then we talked, your last competition where you kind of was dealing with some stuff, and that kind of hurt you a bit. Then you came back and did physique, and that was the Daytona back in, I think it was 2023,
right.
yeah, and that was I think your best look and your best placing.
Yeah, but I couldn't go on to do the next show that I had set up because my body was not allowing it. So that was a very big disappointment. Because who knows what I could have done at the Legend Sports with a placing, like that, but just wasn't meant to be, which is okay. Um, Now I just feel like if I'm going to go back to this division, I just have to take very long, planned out preps so that we don't stress the body too much, especially with my full-time job that I have, you know. So,
Yeah, well, that's the thing about life. It's like you gotta pay, you gotta pay to play. And
yeah,
also being a competitor. It's not a bodybuilding. It was like a real sport where it was like football, basketball, baseball, where you can make a living off of. We don't have to have a job. You're the lucky. There's a lucky few that do can make a living off of it. The rest of y'all have to really work and have responsibilities. Shout out to my man Tony. He says this. He says, "Sorry for the mistake. Apologize. That's all right, brother. Yeah. It feels like sometimes you feel like you're just getting up and you just get in the morning. Now it's the afternoon before you know it's night." Um, Shout out to my man. The Jeremy says, "What do you think about Christina Mendoza move from full-on women's bodybuilding to wellness?"
yeah, I don't know. She'll probably struggle, just like all of us that were in physique. I mean, even Shanique Grant, she managed to win a show in California, a smaller wellness show where she wasn't faced with some of the known girls, and she went to the Olympia, but she didn't even crack top 15. I just think that take it from me, it's not as easy as y'all think. And Shanique Grant trained for 3 years to come down. I just switched right over like a fool, but you know how I am. I seem to not have um, a time my reality with time seems to be skewed. I guess I'm not very patient. Um, but I don't know. I mean, maybe she's got better tricks up her sleeve that we all don't know about, but she'll need something to bring her arms down because I'm telling you, they do not want big arms in
I
that
think.
division. They
I,
don't want it. You can have cap shoulders. You can have a somewhat wider back than some of the girls in wellness, but when you start bringing big old huge arms, and that's where it hurt me. Like they don't want anything to do with that. Um,
Yeah.
so she's gonna have to get rid of her arms some kind of a way.
Yeah, and you got to think about it. Shanique, she's a lot younger. She's like when she left, she was like 25. She was just still young, and she had that time where she was living her life, doing this, doing that. And people talk about, oh, she can crack a top 10. No, I don't think she's because think about it. She was figured for a good while. Then she was two-time physique Olympian champion, and then you take this 3 or 4 years off, and you come back. She looks pretty good, I would say. Maybe she might need to go back to physique. I don't know. Maybe do go back to figure.
Or
And
maybe
then
she'll just keep doing wellness, and as long as she keeps qualifying, maybe she doesn't care about, I mean, getting to the Olympias might be the game now. Like, I don't, who knows? I don't know. I don't know what's in her thought process. I just know that she was not around for several years, changing her look, and she still kind of came in with, you know, I think she was penalized at the first show for her arms, and I think something to do with her abs, and I think some they wanted more fullness in her glutes somewhere, and whatever the judging. I heard the judging criticism of after the show. I just can't remember everything, but yeah. So maybe she'll stay. I don't know. I just know I'm too old. I can't waste time anymore. I have to fit in where I fit in,
yeah.
and that's it.
Where Shanique, if she wants to, she's been a two-time Olympian. She's instantly qualified. If she goes back to physique, she can just pop in, but that's up to her. Shout out to my man. Jeremy says his question says, "What is the new full-time job?"
Oh, fiber communication, fiber optics,
Yeah.
bright speed. They're kind of like all over, and they're starting to, they're pushing to get bigger and bigger. So
You're working with computers
it's a
then.
very physical job. It's a very physical job. It's extremely demanding on it's demanding physically and it's demanding mentally. So
Mhm. Yeah, that's the thing is like any job. Like I tell you, I've worked quite a few of them, and the ones that some people say are easy are not that easy. I remember when I used to work in the strip club, guys would say, "Man, George, you went to the strip club, yeah, yeah, yeah." Dude, it's not that. It's not. It's some days are good, some days are bad. There's a couple times you had to take guys out because they got into fights. You had to break up stripping fights. Somebody brought a gun into the club one time. It, it's like any job. It can be,
yeah.
yeah. But this is
Well,
like
this
with,
one
yeah,
specifically can be somewhat dangerous because the company wants to be cheap and pull bucket trucks away as much as they can, which are, in my opinion, vital for this industry. And they have me working off of a ladder in the middle of the winter, having to climb up poles and go up strands. Like it's extremely dangerous and extremely physically challenging. So
yeah.
yeah.
I know, ladies. I don't know if you know Brittany Brooks. She's, I think, started doing something like you did. I think, or I think it's working with wire carpenting or something like that. I know she hadn't competed in a while, but I follow her still, and and she's doing something kind of like that because technology is up there, and you want to, I think when back was it
Yeah.
when they had that big storm in Texas, they said what they needed was better, you know, connections and also better guards for the lines because Texas never had weather hit that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
We get here a comment shot to my man. Jerry says, "I get that. I drive forklifts and I'm in the elements all day long. I used to work at this cold storage place. That's about I remember one
Yeah, it's
time
cold.
somebody, I think one of the forklift guys knocked down things of turkeys and they were in the box. We had to stack them up. I mean, I tell you. And it had a blast cooler. You might as well.
Yeah, the cold really puts a spin on things.
Yeah, especially when it comes to muscle, because again, it can cause muscles to contract, and
Yep.
and you got to try to keep yourself warm.
Yeah.
So,
And not
yeah,
only that, I just get so much more tired when I have to try and stay warm.
yeah. Oh, baby, I wish I could hold you, keep you warm. But now that you are, moving aside, what's your thoughts now? If you look at, because recently just had some ladies announce their retirement.
Mm.
Just with Christina Mendoza moving over, but Melissa Tyke, she's retiring. She said, Michaela Aycock, Barbara Majan. I know Anne Marie Moon retired this year. I think Evie Rain retired last year. I mean, so a lot of ladies are stepping away from the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's some of us that feel like they haven't done enough yet. So they feel like they're not ready to step away until they feel like they've gotten to a certain status, which I have not won a pro show yet. So I feel like I think that's what's driving me to not just let it be, because deep down inside, I feel like there's been a handful of shows where I should have, definitely done better than I did, and I could have pulled a win. And I just haven't done that yet. So I think that's what's partly what might be driving me. But I have to get away from wellness because never in my life have I been at the bottom of the barrel in any division except for this one. And for some odd reason, we just can't place outside of the bottom of the barrel. And at least in physique, even if I wasn't top 3, top 5, I was still in the question because most of the time I was always in the top 10. Most of my career in physique has been top 10. Except for of course, my top 5 finish in 4th and my top 3 finish getting 2nd out of 20, So I think that's what's wrong with me, why I won't step down yet, because I'm like, I still need, there's something I still need to get accomplished before I can really feel like I did something in the sport as a pro and was like, okay, I can let this die now.
Because you feel you have something to prove, and that's the thing is
I
like,
feel like with the physique that I know I've had, I feel like I have got to at least win one, at least one. I feel like I came so close 2023, and arguably a couple of my shows previously, I should have been placed better. But weird things happen at these shows. Things get like twisted and just crazy things happen. And then, yeah.
mhm,
But
mhm.
yeah, so I feel like I've got to, and now I feel like I'm coming from like the ground back up again. So,
Well, it can be hard to start over, especially when you have been at the point where you were like at the top one point, then coming from the bottom, and then got to come back up again. It's like it can be monotonous. We got
yeah,
here.
I just got to get away from a division that is just not suited for me. Like I thought maybe it was because I had a big glute and I do have big quads and things like that, but it's not quite the glute that they're looking for, and it's not quite the structural, just like my whole structure is just not. Most of those girls are much smaller than me. The majority of the girls in wellness that are doing well are of short stature.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I know this. Usually, shorter girls, usually the ones who have because their legs are a little shorter. They can put
Yeah.
on a little bit more size in that area compared to girls who are taller. Because with you taller women, if you were like anything above 5'5" or like that, it's just because it takes more time to put on that size of muscle and develop, especially in the quads and the glutes.
Oops.
What?
What happened? There we go.
All right, there you go. There
Yeah.
you go.
And a lot of these girls, because a lot of them are from the South American countries, they have been training for years to fit in that exact category. Like that exact, whatever the wellness look truly really is. They knew it better than I think when the judging criteria was made, because they're the ones that are basically dominating the look and turning it into what it is today. And that's all the division that they've ever trained for. They've not crossed and done anything else. This is what they've done. Other girls here in the US, a lot of us are crossovers from a different division, jumping back and forth, trying to figure out which one is the most suitable. Like someone like me who just needs to you know, stay in the one that has done the best so far.
Well, I know one
Um,
lady. One lady I follow. She used to be a bodybuilder, and she came back recently at a show this summer, 60 years old, and doing wellness. And the problem is that she doesn't have the legs for it. She didn't even have the legs for women's bodybuilding. She could probably do physique or figure, but doesn't have the legs, the dominance in the lower half for a division like wellness, especially, even though she's older. I've seen ladies who are in their 60s and 50s and still have that because of good genetics or just how they're built. Like my man Keith, we say like this: it's those strong Afro genetics that help, especially if the top five competitors in wellness are mostly going to be Brazilians or maybe some other ladies from other countries where they have those aesthetics. Shout out to my
Yeah.
man, Jeremy he says, what's your thoughts on the release of the 2026 IFB Pro schedule with only 18 shows for WPD, 16 less than last year? Because I think I know last year
What?
if he says like it's he want to know it's like I think it's like this. He says it's about like 16 less than last year's because I think is
Well,
you
all right. They haven't finished it, right? The schedule?
no because you still have to wait for the shows from Europe. The Van Isle show has not been put on the list, and there's a couple other shows like Tupelo, but I know some shows did drop Wins Physique.
Mm, yeah.
Daytona dropped it, but they brought it back. But this time, not doing open; it's doing masters. Legion dropped it and figure. I know who else dropped. Oh, the St. Louis Pro dropped it because the last year don't have five. Was it last year had five competitors? Yeah, five competitors. Pittsburgh had three, so you
Yeah.
decided to drop it because you only had five competitors.
Yeah. So that's the other huge disadvantage for not doing women's wellness. You come from this many show opportunities to now this many.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's an unfortunate thing.
And then now they're putting a new point system because it's more geared towards divisions like men's classic, men's physique, wellness, and bikini because they have way more shows. Like bikini, at least 100 shows. Figure just wrapped up a show yesterday in I think Taiwan. And they have a little more, but then even though they have been cut from shows too. Shout out to my man David Bryant from over at Female Bodybuilding Forum. Shout out to David. Says Jada is stunning. Glad she's coming back to Wins Physique. Thank you, brother. That's my man David. Got to meet him. I went and this is something I know you. I told you this. I went to Tampa.
Yeah.
And it was for me. I got to meet David. Got to meet Eunice. Quite a few other competitors. Some ladies who I have interviews with. That was a great. I know you had a history with Tampa because that was one of the shows where I think that was your bodybuilding debut back in 2021. You cracked top 10 in that show, and I'm still remember you were impressive. I think you could have been higher.
Yeah. That's the thing about my bodybuilding career. Like I was not welcomed in that division because I was never I was never placed well, even when I looked good, especially at Savannah. But I also did Tampa for Physique 2 back in 2020. So I think I got ninth out of 23. So not terrible. Not
But
terrible.
yeah, it's a numbers there, game. It's always gonna be like that. But as you know, the division is evolving. As you know, we have a new Women's Physique champion. Question is how long she's gonna hold the title, if she's gonna jump from show to show. I mean, I, uh, I'm just like this.
I'm not worried about who's at the top of Physique. All I care about is getting back into something that I did my best in and just getting back into the conversation again. I mean, I probably will never qualify for the Olympia, and that's totally fine. And even if I did, I'm not by any means ever expecting myself at my age in open to do any better than top 10. So I don't really care who's top 5. I just nowadays for me, it's like